Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors meeting of Thursday, April the 16th. With that, Mr. Baines, will you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Dr. Orth. Here. Dr. Leming. Present. Mr. Hutson. Here. Mr. Chriscoe.
Here.
Mr. Nicosia.
Here.
Mrs. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Bonniville. Here. They're all here.
Thank you. All that are able, would you please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance given by the Honorable Robert J. Orth.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for so much that you have given us in this world, health, and all the things that make life worthy here in Gloucester. Guide us as we do the county business to do the best for all the citizens of this county, and we appreciate everything you've given us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance.
Look for a motion to adopt the agenda. So, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. We now open up for public comment period. Please come forward, state your name, magisterial district, and we'll give you 3 minutes. I know we have a couple of emails to read as well. Okay, Ms. Cronin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few comments from Keegan Montroy. Hello, my name is Keegan Montroy. I've lived in the county for most of my life, went to Gloucester High School. I have mentioned before about using the Page Tower area property for events. I still stand by this. I know events have been done there, but I believe there should be larger events done there. For example, a Renaissance Fair, Highland Games, music festivals, etc. Install bathrooms on the property, then have events rent out the space. Use Page Middle School for overflow parking with a shuttle. Rent out the property to event holders if the event isn't planned by the county. Take percentage of the ticket sales if possible. Having large events brings in more money from sales at these events, which brings in money for businesses in the surrounding areas. I bring this up due to problems with the budget our county has had. The potential to make money from events in the county annually is there with the potential for millions in revenue. Please consider this and how it will benefit the county. Thank you. From Megan Ryan on Terrapin Cove, do not raise the personal property taxes in the county. The increase in real estate assessment was more than enough, and many are still trying to figure out how to budget this increase into their already bloated mortgages. We moved here to escape being raided by personal property taxes, and here we go again. I do not agree with an increase. Cut the funding, but don't increase taxes. And from Cynthia Zeller in Dutton, more taxes, we already pay enough. We citizens are expected to live within our income. Gloucester needs to do the same. People are going to be living off credit if you keep adding more taxes. It seems like having a job with income is a waste of energy. Already families work with 2 incomes just to get by. Balance the budget, and if you can't, maybe you should all invest your income in taking some finance courses. Then come back to balance the budget. Open up and listen to the people of Gloucester. We are the ones who matter. Solar farms are destroying this beautiful county, now a data center, a beautiful county being destroyed. My question is why? Those are all the comments.
Thank you. We will now move to our, unless there's one of the citizens would like to speak before I close public comment. Okay, so we will move now to the work session and agenda for our budget discussion.
It's okay, thank you, Chair. I do have a few items that I have notes on that may assist this evening. The first item that I wanted to mention is the line item budget. So our good friend Mr. Mowry used to remind me of that, and I should have found that out sooner than later, but I did circulate that to the Board of Supervisors earlier in March, and so I took that version, and we also added the additional funds, and that is all available now on the county's website. It's on the main page. It's called Line Item Budget, and it's an Excel file where anyone can go and look at every single line of the budget. And then secondly, I wanted to start with something for fiscal year 26, unless the board would like to start with 27. The bonus. So there is a state bonus that is in the current budget that is for fiscal year 26. And I provided the board with some information on that earlier in April. So this is for the county, a 2% state bonus, and there are several scenarios in which the board could fund this bonus or could choose not to. So the feedback I've received is that the board interest was to fund the 2% bonus from vacancy savings, which would not require any additional appropriations. And the estimated vacancy savings right now, which is the amount of salary and personnel expense in comparison to the budget, so the amount of savings we have, is estimated at the end of fiscal year 26 to be $1.2 million. The estimated cost, local cost of this bonus, because it would be partially state funded, is $368,511. So therefore, we do have the available funding in this budget to fund a 2% bonus to all employees, if the board would like to do that. Furthermore, I wanted to mention that if the state modified its budget, so if this 2% doesn't pass in the state, the county we would be coming back to the board. So I know that it's early, we don't know yet what the state will do, but we would be coming back if there were any changes made to that. Then I received correspondence from the school board office on Monday and learned of a school bonus. So I knew it had been floating around in the budget. I had obviously been paying a little more attention to the county information versus the schools, but the school board on Tuesday night passed a resolution requesting that the county fund a bonus in the amount, well, the county portion, it's a match to the state funding, of a bonus to give $1,000 to every school employee would be $363,307. And so we're obviously waiting on the state for some guidance to understand where these will go, but the Virginia Department of Education has placed a little bit more constraint on that, where they need to have confirmation that the locality will fund the match portion of the bonus by May 1st. So the school board is planning to attend the April 21st work session next week, and happy to answer questions on that. And we are not looking for any board action tonight. What I am seeking is any feedback or guidance or information that you would like for us to provide you, so that it would assist in any decision for next week. So that's the bonus. I have several other, but I figured I'll let me know when to move on.
Comments about?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ms. Callaway?
Yes, sir.
School board is a bonus. It's not an increase. It's an across-the-board conversation. There's no, is it to every school board employee, from the janitors to the superintendent?
So, did you have something you want to say?
No, I was going to say the same thing. You got the resolution.
We do. It's a $1,000 bonus to all full-time employees, and it's a half, $500 to all part-time employees. And the intention of the bonus is for retention. That's what the state is calling it, is a state retention bonus. So you may see in the news it's $1,500 is what the state recommended, but they provided flexibility to schools.
And does that include the school bus drivers?
Yes,
Who are
sir.
almost all not full-time?
I will confirm those details, but I believe this is for all employees.
Any other questions or comments about that? Dr. Leming?
I'm thinking about it.
And
Ms. Callaway, do you know if the school is going to finish the year with an unspent amount of money in their fund balance?
I did ask that question, and it is, the response I received is it is too early to tell.
Dr. Orth?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. So at our meeting on Monday, we had quite a few people talk about the proposed boat tax and what impact it might have on the industry. Quite a few people came up and mentioned a VIMS study that was done for Hampton many, many moons ago. Mr. Chriscoe asked me if I could reach out and find the original person who did that. Well, he's not available anymore, but I did reach out to the gentleman who is now head of advisory services at FIMS, and I talked to him this afternoon, told him what had transpired at our meeting on Monday, and that I asked him what would be involved in developing a proposal that VIMS could put together that could address the economic impacts of the boating industry, not just in Gloucester, but perhaps in this region. He was amenable to it. I said, could you put together a proposal, what it would cost? I said that there were some individuals that had commented that they might be able to contribute to it. So he did say that obviously something like this would take some time. You know, it's obviously something we wouldn't have available for this coming fiscal year. How long it would take would depend on the significance of the proposal, because a lot of it would be mail-outs to people requesting information, personal surveys. Some of it may be helpful with AI, now that they've got models out there that are easily accessible to help understand, you know, the trickle-down effect of this. So I'll wait and see what he comes up with and what it would cost, and then it might be good to find out of the people that spoke what they might be able to contribute. First things first, let's see what proposal they come up with. I told him I would send him a link to the video of the session and say, look at what the people had to say as a way to gather some information about how much people were embedded in this. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But it was a good conversation. I know the guy personally from VIMS, and again, being head of advisory services, they have access to, obviously, you know, quite a bit of resources. So we'll see what he comes up with.
Right. And that's why I decided, hey, I know a guy, I know a VIMS guy, so let me reach out to him and see what he can find out. I appreciate you doing that.
He's already touched base with 2 people in the department. They're interested, but as with, you know, all people that are involved in other things, we'll see what he comes up with. But they were certainly very interested in this topic.
That's good. Thank you. Getting back to the bonuses, if you can get that information, and we can, perhaps we can make the decision on both Tuesday night, because I know we have that on the agenda for next Tuesday for us. Yes, so sir. If we get enough information from them, we can do that then. If not, if they need more time, there's a chance we'll have an additional budget work session we can do something with if we need to.
And to confirm, the only follow-up is to confirm that the bonus is for all employees, to include bus drivers, custodians, etc.
Correct. Cafeteria.
Yes, I'll confirm it is all employees, and I'll get the board that information.
Dr. Leming.
Back on the first bonus discussion was a 2%. Whether this survives the budget impasse or not, at the moment, it looks like there's a 2% for all county employees, not school employees, county employees, and we are responsible, if we so chose, for $368,511. And if we choose to do that, you have provided one alternative as a funding source. I understand that.
Yes, sir.
That's a raise. Am I correct, or is that a one-time bonus? Okay. I misunderstood that. Thank you. That's what I wanted to know. Because, okay.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions on bonuses versus raises.
Okay. Right. I think you had some other points to cover.
Yes, sir, I do. I'm going to shift a little bit to personnel. First, I wanted to let the board know that we will have our health insurance consultant, USI, here on the 21st as well, who will review the details on some of the proposals that we received for health insurance, as well as explain the logic behind the chosen health insurance provider that has been recommended by that committee that reviewed the RFP. And so information will be forthcoming on figures, although I do have some estimates that I built in as we've discussed in the last work session. I tweaked them a little bit, and I have those in the work doc for when you would like to see that. I also wanted to mention that during the compensation study discussions last fall, or this past fall, The consultant discussed the need to review the scales each year. He said that you cannot keep up with compensation without compression if you're not reviewing your scales each year. So our human resources director, along with that consultant, has reviewed many indexes and recommended a 2.5% scale shift. However, most of that is built into the budget. We don't know, we're analyzing the final impacts to see if there's anyone that would end up being below, even with the proposed COLA increase, that would be below that minimum, but I don't believe we're gonna run into that. I think this is going to be a structural shift and not a budgetary impact, but we will bring back additional information before budget adoption to let you know that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Leming.
Just so I'm clear, everything would shift up 2.5%. There's no compression problem with an overall shift.
Correct. It would be the entire structure.
I just wanted to hear it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The next one is somewhat similar, but it is going to be a little bit more tricky, and we are still working on how to fix it. The state has provided our social services director with a budget memorandum, which we reviewed together this week. And one of the major changes is that they are recommending the family services specialist positions have a minimum salary of $55,000 per year. We do have several positions that would, 5 positions that would be impacted. The difficulty is that would regrade, that would cause compression and regrade essentially potentially all positions in social services. So the social services director is working with our human resources director to review those positions in totality, because we can't just move. I looked at the scale this morning, and that position, the starting salary is on our scale is 19% lower. So that puts that position multiple grades higher. And so that impacts every position potentially in that group. Yes, sir.
Dr. Orth.
Since these are partly funded from the state, how much of the percent of that change comes from the state versus what we would have to contribute?
Give or take, it's about 15% locally. So we're going to work on getting those impacts to you all, but I wanted to at least make you aware of that change because I did talk with 2 other finance directors today and asked them if they had this issue, and it appears that their scales are higher. So those were there's a potential that they could have some impacts, but I don't know that they'll be as far reaching, because I wanted to understand what are you going to do? How are you all going to change this? And so I don't know that we're going to be alone, but we're going to have to do a little bit of research to be able to bridge that gap.
Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Leming.
A couple of things. I understand that the direct fiscal impact for the 5 employees to meet the $55,000 a year is approximately an additional $15,000. That's what I recall. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure I remember that number. That was really not the issue. The issue was the compression issue, because I heard testimony yesterday from the director who said that more senior staff would now be either barely making more or in some cases perhaps making less than the starting salaries of the family services people. The impetus behind the state's mandate of $55,000 is the empty chair syndrome that's going on in the family services department across the Commonwealth. And the state needs those positions to be filled and functional. The compression issue is probably the bigger dollar amount issue, to be quite frank with you. On the other hand, we also heard testimony. One of the things they do is they review their exit interviews, for example, and they've lost a couple of people in the last month, I believe, or my last quarter, perhaps it was the last quarter, to other localities surrounding us for substantial differences. I mean, in one case, it was a $22,000 difference to go to work for the state and work from home. Another individual left, I don't remember the dollar amount, but I think it was 19% more. I didn't have a dollar amount. And so there's a lot of pressure on our Department of Social Services from poachers. Now, I don't mean that in a derogatory term, but it is a problem within the Department of Social Services. It's a challenge. How about that? So.
It is, yes.
It's been that way for years.
I know.
And that, something that came to my mind as we were pondering this yesterday is that the Human Resources Director and myself have been doing a majority of this type of work where we're trying to look at the scales and obviously working with departments, but as turnover happens, you have to relook, and we're hearing some of the similar information, and we just paid for a pay study. But there are departments that our HR director, she reached out talking about the scale shifts, and they all seem to either have consultants that they work with annually or a position who specializes in compensation. So that is one thing that came to the forefront with all of this compensation type work that is a consistent drain on resources and a lot of work that is outside of some of our purview and how other localities are doing that type of thing. So just a mention there.
Dr. Orth.
So Dr. Leming mentioned the difference in salary of some senior people to the base level that we would be providing for these other people. So if we raise those salaries, again, the question, how much of that difference would the state pick up versus our local contribution? So would the state be willing to do that if the compression changes quite a bit, in particular for the senior level people? Because we just can't afford to lose people all the time.
No.
It's a serious issue.
What I'll do is obviously I'm working very closely with the social services director and on the budget, and once we get a little bit more information on the impacts here, I can get you better information on the state reimbursement portion.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Leming.
I know the board knows this. I just want to bring it to the public's attention. Spending money at social services is never glitzy, but these are the people who are really holding together the most vulnerable people in our population and the most vulnerable children in our community, and their work is simply invaluable to the fabric of our community.
Agreed. Anything else, Ms. Keller?
I do have 2 items left. I'm going to jump off of personnel for a moment. I'll preface it with I do have several notes I'd like to make regarding the changes the board discussed at the last work session in reducing the number of new positions that were recommended to be funded, or that were included in the original request. So I think that may be most helpful to show when I pull the spreadsheet up, so I'll save all those. But the last thing I wanted to jump into as another, just providing some information at the forefront, we have not talked a lot about the implementation project for Tyler Munis, and so I just wanted to mention that that is a major project that is ongoing as a part of our 2026 capital plan, and that has been a very heavy lift on finance. It was a top priority because our current system is nearing the date of not being supported any longer on our current browsers and software. And I'm so thankful to have Mr. Baines here who can jump in and fix anything I'm saying. But essentially, during this implementation, which started in July, finance staff have been working 8 to 16 hours a week on this implementation, and we got to a place where we've exceeded our capacity as well as our, in some cases, technical knowledge on this system. And within the project budget, we believe we were able to procure a consultant to look at this, which was recommended by Henrico as well as York. So we have hired a consultant to start looking at some of the stuff we're doing so that the project doesn't stop in its tracks. We believe that this will be within the project budget, but I wanted to let the board know. It also is partially, could be funded with vacancy savings from positions that are not filled in finance currently. However, that project is just a part of it this year. So we have right now finance, human resources, and utility billing are budgeted in this fiscal year. And that project is intended to replace the entire ERP system that we have, which then subsequently would include all of the permitting departments. So that is not part of the 26 budget. That will be another phase of this project that will come up in the future. And so this particular consultant is very specific to finance. This person is as an accountant or is an accounting degree, understands the inner workings of this Tyler Munis system. So don't anticipate we'll lean on that person too heavily initially, but potentially in the future. And I wanted to preface the second phase of the project as well.
Dr. Leming?
I have a direct question, and then I have a flight of thought question. The direct question is, I understand that an additional phase in the future would be to handle the permitting piece. Is that already paid for, or yeah, I thought that was an unfunded phase.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any idea what that looks like?
Yes, we do. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I can get them to you.
Okay. My flight of thought question was, have you heard anything from the schools on their health insurance?
I have not.
Thank you.
Yes. Anything else before we dive into our budget discussion? Okay. Do you all want to put our document up and go from there?
Mr. Chair, would you like me to walk you through some of the updates that I've made?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. So at the last work session, the discussion was to remove all but 2 of the positions that were requested. One being a joint engineer for the schools, and the second being a joint grant writer, or a grant writer that was requested by the schools, but then potentially requested to be joint. So I showed you a slide on Monday night that included personnel changes. Are you seeing it? Okay, okay. And realized that I had made an error in removing 2 positions that were requested by our Commonwealth attorney, that if he kept that request, it would only be because they would be majority state funded positions. So the request was based on the state compensation board letting them know that they have reached a capacity in which would then provide them with an additional attorney as well as an additional paralegal that would be funded by the state compensation board. So in my error, I removed those 2 positions as well, and obviously they could be removed. The Commonwealth attorney made it clear he only wants those positions if they were to be funded. And so on that note, we have received very little correspondence from the state compensation board. By this time, we generally have revenue estimates, and that shows the positions that the comp board is planning to fund. And so I've talked with some other directors, and they're like, we don't know. Last year it came out on March 7th, and so we've been reaching, actually the Commonwealth Attorney's Office was reaching back out to the compensation board today to try to understand. But right now, I included back in this increase here in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, part of their, that's actually, because we had to, see, that is a little bit of a decrease. But they had two positions that, oh, it's an increase. I highlighted in red everything more than $100,000 increase. I apologize. That's why it's red here. But they have these two positions, which would be a total of $244,000 gross. And then on the revenue side, I have estimated $183,000, which would be a net cost to the county of $61,000 for those two positions, because the state compensation board generally does not fund all benefits, etc. So that is included in this Commonwealth's attorney's budget here, and I just wanted to make clear that there were those additional positions still included. I'm happy to do whatever the board wishes on those.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure I know the source. I apologize. I'd be glad to tell you, but I thought I heard a discussion somewhere that the Commonwealth's attorney was having difficulty filling those positions because of the low pay scale. You heard it too someplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't hear it from him directly, so I heard it third hand or fourth hand or whatever. Creating new positions, unless the funding is improved, I mean, it's going to result in unfilled positions, funded but unfilled. I'm just asking.
So the HR director has been working very hard with and my understanding is he is in the last 2 weeks had some big success, and we've worked on our salary model for the Commonwealth's attorneys, in which we have a very structured experience guide that says if you have a certain number of years of experience, this is where your salary falls on the scale. And we've learned that the attorney experience is a little bit different. It pretty much is all created equal, whereas experience for other positions in the county where they may have worked, say for me, I may have worked in public accounting as doing taxes. That does not equate one-to-one to doing local government accounting. It is not the same experience. It does not receive the same amount of credit to put you in a certain spot on the scale. Attorneys, we've worked very hard with Mr. Dusewis, and we have determined that that is not the same situation for an attorney. If you're a prosecutor, you're a prosecutor. You're doing it the same. So that has resulted in some adjustments, which actually is this $61,000 here for his staff that are existing, as well as he has been able to fill one of the positions that has been vacant for quite a while.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next one is that I wanted to point out was the community engagement coordinator. That position was requested. I'm trying to find where it is on here. General administration. We should be at the bottom. There we go. That position was requested for the Gloucester High School community engagement coordinator, and it was requested by our community engagement department as a part-time position. So I have backed that position out here, as mentioned, not funding anything other than those couple of positions. However, I wanted to remind the board that it is a full-time community engagement coordinator for the high school is included in the school's budget request, which is the local portion that is down further in the school transfers. So that I have not adjusted at all. I just wanted to mention that the school, if it were to be funded, that may be something we would want to shift to the county's budget instead of leaving as part of a school transfer if it were to be funded.
Mr. Hutson.
They're county employees. I don't understand why they would have included it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Leming.
We had this discussion previously, and I echo Supervisor Hutson's comment, which was when I did the principal for the day, I spent 20 minutes with the community engagement coordinator at Petsworth, and I learned that she had a blue thing on and a county employee badge on, and I asked her who she worked for and who her paycheck came from, and I learned that all the community engagement coordinators are county employees. And I was befuddled when I saw it on the school board side. I would think that we would, if that was something we chose to do, we would fund it on our side and remove it, that funding on their side. It just didn't make sense. I'm with you.
I would agree.
Would you like me to go ahead and remove it out of this school amount here?
But is it the full amount or the 38?
Oh, it's the full amount.
Yeah, theirs was like 70
I know.
some odd thousand.
It's 88,159. And sorry, I don't have numlock on, so that moved me all around. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna.
You want to use a part-time employee on our side?
I mean, we're so far from figuring out where it is. I mean,
That, you can, yeah, I'm not sure.
you can leave that as a number.
Dr. Leming, were you asking, do we remove it totally from our side because of the discussion we've had, or would you like to have it put in as part-time on our side?
I'd like to see it part-time on our side.
I'd like to see it
where
restored to part-time on our side. I think it's an important position. I was surprised to learn that the high school was sans a community engagement coordinator at all. It looked to me like that was probably if one was to prioritize the schools, it would be a higher priority than some of the other places, my own opinion.
Doesn't Page and Petsworth share? No, Page and Peasley.
I believe they all have their own.
I thought they shared for some reason.
I think there used to be a shared coordinator, and the manager, or it does handle multiple duties as well as doing the school. And she's at Bethel, Deborah Falkenberg. Okay. And then also the last note I have, and then I'll point you to your final number here, or the current number here, is the same idea. The school grant writer, there was some discussion, should that be under county and be joint, but that is still included as in part of the school transfer figure right now. So that was the last position that I wanted to mention. With these changes, the current situation is $372,000 to the good, and I have not adjusted revenues. We'll do that tonight based on what the board would like to do.
But you haven't put the part-time back for
Yes,
the.
right here. I took it out of the negatives.
Okay, you took it out. And what about the, when the schools had the grant writer, was that half or?
That's a full-time, budgeted at $88,159. That isn't included in their request. And the request for that was for it to be a school position.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Leming.
I understand that we need an engineer, and I think one of the thrusts of that is that if we have an additional engineer on the county side, that person could help with projects on the school side. So although it's going to get, I would hope it gets funded on our side, that person's going to reach across and function probably like they do now anyway, but just have another person to do so. I am concerned, I'm not concerned, I want the grant writer to be half theirs and half ours. That's what I want to see. I don't know how you want to fund it to accomplish that, but that would be my goal. I'll just say that. I think the county needs some portion of dedicated grant writing capacity, and I don't want to be the low man on the totem pole, so to speak. I want us to have equal access to that. I have experience in the past with shared grant writers, which were great for both the schools and the county. I mean, I'll just share that with you. So that's what I would like to see. I don't care how you work it out. Take half out of theirs, put half of it back over, whatever you want.
Yeah, and if I may, I think I'll take the time to work with Dr. Vladu and the CFO to understand how best that would work on the funding side.
Right.
Yeah, my understanding is that a fair number of these grants have a portion of the grant to support the grant writer. I'm pretty sure that's my memory.
So, and I'll find
Depends
out
on
for,
the grant,
yes,
but
it does. The, and we do utilize a grant writer at the MPPDC, which I do believe does receive a portion of the grants for administrative. The school grants, I understand, are quite a bit different. The grants that the county is managing currently in finance do not. I'm trying to think, I don't know of any that have an administrative portion that one, probation and pretrial does have a small, less than $4,000 that comes back to the county.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Who's, on that side, who's managing those? Is it finance that manages those? I know there's benchmarks that have to be usually reported and such like that.
Yes, the county grants are managed by our accounting and payroll manager.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Leming.
Ms. Callaway, on your transfers out, I think your conversation earlier was the social services number is going to change a little bit.
Yes, sir, pending the
Yes,
changes
yes,
for
yes,
the
yes, ma'am.
salary.
Well, from the discussion at the state today, it didn't appear that there was a great deal of meetings of the bodies to accomplish a budget.
If I may make one quick comment on that, because that one too, obviously if the state changed their mind on doing the $55,000 minimum, then that would make a big difference. But other than that, that is also the budgetary impacts of what the state has currently in their budget is waiting on staff. So we'll be working on that between now and the next work session as much as we can get for you.
What do y'all want to see change next? And we've done a little tweaking, but we still have a pretty significant tax increase showing. Can we see? Okay, it's there. The meals tax, it's all there. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, Dr. Leming.
Ms. Callaway, you know how you see something and it takes you a while to sort of cogitate on it? Do I remember there was a presentation at the last meeting about, it was the staple packet that we got, and it was on the page of real estate tax rates and what each penny meant. Do I remember? Do you have it?
Joe?
Joe.
Yeah, thanks. What did we advertise as the maximum tax rate?
We did advertise higher.
It's 0.23 higher than what it currently is.
Yes.
63, no,
So that'd be
61.
63.4.
It was 63, that's my.
63.5 maybe.
63.5 is what I thought of in the shower. Forgive me for that. And I just wondered why that didn't appear.
The reasoning behind, so this was from the initial proposed budget and as a reference guide, and then I believe the theory behind the higher rate was if the board were to not fund any of these other types of taxes, that you would have the flexibility in the real estate rate to fund other things versus limiting it. This was just, up to the equalized rate was the point of this particular slide. I can certainly revise it if that would be helpful up to the advertised.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
So I want to make sure, I've heard a lot of input about this. And I've heard a lot about this document and the fact that this is not on this document. So let's just play a game and say that a homeowner last year paid $1,000 in their real property tax twice a year for a total bill of $2,000. That was on the old real estate rate. Their assessment went up 16.5%. I think that's the average assessment that went up. In order for them to get a bill for $1,000 twice a year, or $2,000 a year, the equalized rate would be 0.614. It is, okay,
0.537.
it's not on here.
0.537.
Okay.
It is, right there.
So for them to get the same bill, then, thank you, I appreciate that. Then we would have to adopt a rate of 0.537. So each one of these options, up to the ones that aren't on here, would directly impact their bill. Okay, thank you.
Joe, here's a different one from another presentation.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Hanson.
Actually, I didn't think I had changed it.
Same
Oh,
number.
is it? Okay,
So, Ms. Callaway, since we did have quite a bit of pushback on the boat tax, I'd like to see it without the boat tax, without the cigarette tax, what that would look like. Meals tax at 1%, please.
I am going to pull this up so I don't remember how much it was. So that would then put us at looking for $514,000.
well, that's
Mr.
with
Chairman,
the meals tax still at 2% though.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, Dr. Joe.
I don't mean, this is not my meeting. I'm not in chair of the meeting. I've been in meetings like this before. And it took a majority of head nod to change a form. So for example, I think the chairman and Mr. Orth, that's 2, alluded to 3, eliminating the possibility of a boat tax. Is that what I heard? Because there's 4. So if you had 4 head nods, then tentatively we would eliminate that column. Is that acceptable?
No, that's fine, and
No, but I'm just saying, because if we each go through this individually, and let's say, which by the way, I'm in favor of not doing the boat tax too, but let's say I disagreed, we're just gonna have this back and forth. And it always, on our board, took a majority of head nods to tentatively, nothing was cut in stone at this point, it's a work session. But, for example, I personally favor the cigarette tax. I feel very strongly and passionately about that, and I'm dumbfounded that we don't have a cigarette tax, and just dumbfounded by it. So I would like to see whether that head nod supports the cigarette tax.
I think I sense exactly what you're saying is that we have these taxes that are proposed. Do we go yay or nay on each one of those,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
And then that helps us look at where we would have to make the difference in those taxes that we haven't said yes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Very simple.
And by the way, we would do this in rounds, to be honest with you, because if you come to a point and you still have $4 million, round 2.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to note that, Dr. Lemon has repeatedly talked about luxury taxes. And although we probably wouldn't consider smoking a luxury, I think if we said, okay, boat people, you don't have to pay a tax, that's a luxury tax, if we go after that tax, I think we would probably get a lot of pushback. No one came to the meetings defending their bad habit, I certainly didn't, but, it was such little bang for its buck on that either. I think we can just maneuver that around, and I said a luxury tax is a luxury tax, regardless of what, what that shape or form comes in. We have a lot of RV people that would be very unhappy that we're not considering the boat tax. I've heard from them.
Mr. Chair,
So, you know.
how did we reach that number for the cigarette tax, just out of curiosity? No, I get that, but like,
It was fun. So,
I get the 2 cent per cigarette, but like,
Yeah.
how do we, I mean, that seems low to me, but,
it is low, it's conservative.
yes.
So what I did was we took revenues from all the localities surrounding us that have the cigarette tax. I first looked at a comparison to sales tax to try to see was there something I could derive some sort of a trend there. I couldn't get that, so then I resorted to, I don't remember the exact resource, but there's a resource where you can determine what portion of your population smokes. So then I took a comparison of all those localities and those metrics to see what portion of each of those are smokers. And then I used that same methodology on Gloucester to determine that if everybody smokes, if this proportion of our population smokes, here's how many smokers we have. Then I said, what's the average amount of cigarettes per day? Same comparison, and was able to back into what I thought, how many cigarettes are sold per year in Gloucester County. So it was a really fun spreadsheet. I'd be happy to share with anyone who's interested.
Yeah, I'm sorry I asked you to do it. Like, I asked for it, I just thought you just provide it for somewhere.
No.
But, you know, that it makes it another point where it's a variable, it's a guess, you know, and we all want to, I mean, it's a guess with the boat taxes because the people said they're going to take their boats out too. So I just wanted to look at it, I think. I mean, you certainly disagree with me, but I mean, I think it was what we wanted to look at. I think we've looked at it. So.
Mr. Chairman, I haven't had a single person contact me about the cigarette potential tax.
Oh, I have. I've had several, and I will tell you why I voted against it when I did a few years ago. Is the population generally that are the smokers, you know, it's going to be it could be a burden to them. And, you know, I know it's probably the only thing on this list of taxes right here that has something stamped on it that says if you smoke this, it will kill you. It may not be today and it may not be tomorrow, but it's going to at some point. So, correct, and that's the one thing that, I agree there, but that's the one thing that at the time, I was like, man, and of course we were in a different economic state where when I was looking at that then, that 200 and, I think it was $40-some thousand at that point, wasn't worth the effort. With where we're at today, you know, it was probably time to consider it again. But for me, when I made the vote on the boat tax to remove it, I looked at that as my yes vote was because I saw that as a way to provide economic development in this county. Yes, it is a very limited pool of area that we can do that with, but with the county not doing a whole lot of economic development, doing that allowed for increased revenue in businesses directly related to boating. And we had points the other night where people have moved here because of it after they moved their boat here. But, you know, it's one of those things, what are you going to do with it? I, for one, don't see a need to bring that boat tax back. And the people that have called me about the RVs, I've told them, I said, your RV is managed through DMV, and your boat is not. I can't control what DMV does with your boat. DMV, if you have a head in either the RV or permanently affixed head in either one of those, you can write them off as a second house, which is another benefit that everybody has. In a perfect world, I wouldn't have to tax your automobile, your RV, your boat, or anything else. With the amount of taxes being pushed down from Richmond this year, I think we got to look really hard and fast at what we do to our tax rates because, again, every time your hand touches your pocket, you're paying a tax, and those taxes are going up everywhere across the board this year. I think this is gonna be, what we're looking at right here, I think is gonna be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of folks in this county. Yes.
After the meeting last week, about the open public meeting, you know, I was absolutely thinking that it would be a good idea for a boat tax. And to be honest, after listening to everyone, which is why we have a public hearing, so we can hear from our constituents, and I think they made a good case about the trickle-down effect. You know, I still think, you know, I mean, we tax people for their tools and other things, I mean, and no one wants to tax, but I think they made a good case, like you said, for economic development, which we are having the marinas, and a lot of these things come to Gloucester. It might be something we could look at later, but.
Dr. Leming.
Mr. Chairman, I may be mistaken, but on the boat tax, it's been asked and answered on round one, which was not to do the boat tax. I think that was where you are. And I like to go on and to the cigarette tax, and I, for one, would like to keep it in, and then just depends on what the will of the other members of the board are.
You got something to say, Dr. Will? And then we'll get to the consensus on the cigarette tax.
So, you know, knowing that I was going to talk to the guy at VIMS, I also went through every single county around us and looked at what their fees were. And again, you know, there are places that are doing the boat fee, not the boat tax. That seems to be more acceptable. I don't think we can do a boat fee. I asked Mr. Wilmon, Esquire Wilmon, so that puts us out of the commission. But you know, your county and Pocosin do not have a single, they have that 0.001. So our two closest groups are essentially 0. So I think, you know, based on the economic development component, I think if we agree not to deal with that this year, we cut it off the board and move on. Yeah.
I think the main thing that the citizens need to know is all these were presented to give us options. And that's the whole reason for all of this. But I think the boat tax needs to go away.
Yes, that is a consensus. Yes.
I'm in favor of the cigarette tax for all too many reasons.
I'm not a smoker, but the majority of the board, it's the majority of the board's will, so let's take it out. I mean, let's leave it in, sorry. Sorry, we'll leave that in for now. Ms. Nicosia.
I want to hit on two things really quick. The first thing is that I got a couple of phone calls on the cigarette tax from cigarette smokers who are friends of mine, and they said, go ahead. You know, we're going to smoke. That's basically what they said. Said, you know, go ahead if that's what you need to do. Now, I did get the phone call that said, I think a couple of them said, that's the most ridiculous thing I've heard of, but the overwhelming majority of my friends smoke. I do not, but they do. And it was, the majority of them were like, okay, that's what you need to do. But I want to drive a point that Mr. Chriscoe made, I want to agree with him. And so for about 30 seconds, I'm going to get really personal. And that is that this is very difficult for me because as we, like he said, we gotta really think about these taxes because as everything is going up, as a person with a disability, I was thinking about our disabled population in the county and our older population in the county. It's getting tough. You say, oh, Tony, you look all right. You look like things are going okay. They are. But financially, being disabled is expensive. And it's much more expensive than you think. So when we look at this situation and we look at what's coming down from Richmond, we have to look at everybody, right? We're going to have to do what we're going to have to do, but make sure that we are taking into consideration the impact of those who may be already struggling.
Dr. Leming? Oh.
I'm waiting for the head nods so we can move past
Cigarette tax is staying in. It's staying in.
Okay. What's next? Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Dr. Leming.
I want to offer two pieces of information to the board, one of which I found very interesting, but I think I heard yesterday, and Ms. Callaway can correct me if I'm wrong, that York County has decided to increase their meals tax from 4% to 6%. Is that correct, Ms. Callaway?
Yes.
I think that's what.
That is in their budget proposal.
Yes, ma'am. The other piece that I heard was an interesting piece about the city of Virginia Beach. And if anybody else heard it, you can correct me if I'm mistaken, but the city of Virginia Beach board made the observation that more taxpayers pay personal property taxes than taxpayers pay real property taxes. I'm going to say that again. More taxpayers pay personal property taxes than pay real property taxes. And they took the posture in their more recent budget of increasing their real estate tax and decreasing their personal property tax and refunding some of the personal property tax savings back to the people. It was a fascinating posture. How about that? I'm not saying we need to emulate that, but it was very interesting to hear another locality with much more resources than we have at our disposal have that sort of posture. But
was that a result of, and I didn't see the article, was that a result of more people renting so they weren't paying the real estate taxes personally, but they were being paid elsewhere?
yeah, probably.
So in their rent, the real tax is embedded in that rent.
I think the current proposal on the meals tax, as I understand it, was 1%.
It's two.
Oh, no, and we advertised it too.
Right, and but we did that for the 1%.
Okay.
Was to be sent directly to utilities.
Well, there's a transfer to utilities proposed in the budget around that number, yeah. I mean, whether you, I don't know that we have the capacity to earmark it. It would come in here and it would be a transfer there. I don't think we can take it and give it to utilities directly.
Are you ready for me?
Yes, please.
So right now in your budget figures, you have 2% of the revenue and 1% is being expended to utilities, correct?
We would expend whatever we think that 1% is. We would set that, and if we exceeded it, then we'd have extra. But at the moment, we have 2% as the number that's highlighted now at the 1833178.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Now I'm going to be ignorant. Are millage available in this conversation?
I didn't understand. Can you repeat, or what?
Are millage increments available in this conversation?
So I think that what you're asking is, can we do a 1.15%? So that is, I'll defer to Mr. Wilmot. I researched it, which is why I have a conditional drop-down box here. And my understanding is it's not something that is prohibited. However, it does make it more difficult on the restaurants who are then having to charge it and then remit it.
I'm unaware of any prohibition. I would recommend you keep it at 4, you make it 5, or you make it 6. But I don't think there's any prohibition, but logistically it might be difficult.
One note, so I did here in this drop down, I put it at various levels if you'd like to go at 0.5% increments. So you could see what the revenue generated would be.
My point in the, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that very much. So my point in the conversation, however, is if you raise the meals tax 1% and you have an income of that, and that amount of money is going to go over to utilities, which I'm in favor of, there's no additional revenue from the meals tax to support the budget. So I'm just making the comment that that's where, if we all settle on 1%, that's the effect. It's a zero effect on the budget. So to me, the question is, do we go 1, 1.5, or 2? That's the issue for me. And I would like, politically, I think it would be nice to be less than York County, where our restaurateurs can not either be on a level playing field or be a notch below, and we don't lose people because our taxes are, why not go across the bridge? It's the same amount of money, for example. I offer that for the board's consideration.
Mr. Hutson?
I think we're losing more revenue from meals tax for people that are coming and stopping on their way home from work in York County, Newport News, and Hampton than they are about leaving to go across the river. Because once you get in Gloucester, you're not going back.
Let me do this. I'm going to start the round and say I'm going to support the 2%.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have spoken to some of my friends that own restaurants, and, you know, it's a hard pill, and some of them said they could absorb a half or one, but that's for the larger ones, but
It's a
small-
pass-through. They don't even, they just change the percent on their register tape, and it spits out a number at the end of the day.
I think the concern is people will not go out as much, and it will decrease their dining out, which is the average citizen. Some people that eat out, because some people don't want to cook, or they have a small family and they don't want to go grocery shopping. But it would be, you know, it could drop their numbers, and if we're trying to bring businesses in here, more restaurants, more dining experience. I mean, I'm more and more worried about the small mom and pop places, the startups too, but that's just what I've heard, so.
Yeah, I've talked to several as well, and I got one set of friends, they own 6 or 7 restaurants, and they're like, we don't care if you make it $1 per dollar. It doesn't bother us. We're either gonna, if we start losing clients, we'll close a restaurant or two. But and then you have the other people that, like this, are saying, well, we're gonna lose business. No one stopped going out and buying stuff when we had the referendum, we had it 1%. No one stopped going out and eating at restaurants when this county voted it in on themselves however many years ago at 4%. I'm in favor of leaving it at the 2% simply because if you don't want to go out to eat, because it's a prepared meals tax. I don't have to go out to eat if I don't want to, but if I want to, 2% isn't going to matter, because there's places that I go that it's higher, and there's places that I go that it's lower, and that's the last thing that I worry about is how much is the meals tax where I'm going to eat.
So how many people, when they go out, actually look at the receipt and look at the percentages that are there? I know I treat my daughter and her family to dinner every Sunday night. I go across the river, and every once in a while, I do look at the receipt, but I don't even worry about it. I mean, obviously, I can handle it, but that's my treat to them, is every Sunday night. That's our going out type of thing.
What time are we going Sunday?
5 o'clock.
We might need, Ms. Cronin, we might need to advertise, and I'll get the location from Dr. Orth in plenty of time.
It depends on what kind of golf is going on.
We'll have to take minutes, Ms. Cronin.
Chronicle outside.
Yeah.
Field trip.
So it sounds like we leave it at 2 right now, and take
I
it.
think so. And then figure, because at this point in time, this board has adjusted some of our rates that have been advertised, but we have not looked at doing anything to reduce our expenditures below this, this is a great exercise, because we're getting numbers up here that we really have to work with, so.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Hanson said no.
Yes.
So yes? The other 6s were yes, right? Because I don't want Ms. Hanson to be cut off,
No.
right?
I think Mr. Chriscoe did make a very good point, is that, you know, this discussion is important, but the next level is looking at the details of.
Right, because we may be able to come back up here and take some of these off, because the one that I had the most heartburn with is the next one going up the list, is the personal property taxes. Because I don't know about anybody else sitting around this table, but I have a vehicle that is going on 5 years old that I could not sell for what the county has it valued for. And I know that we use an outside agency to help set the rates. It's not us. But what I'm saying is, I think we're taxed plenty on the personal property side of things. Yeah, I would like to see that one go away.
So following up on Mr. Wilmot, we're going to leave the meals tax at 2%.
Yes,
Right now.
for now.
In round one, now one of the. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'll make a comment. When we did this before and we had sequential meetings, I mean, you know, the press would get a hold of this and we would have a proposal in round one of a tax of blah. And let me tell you, the people would show up at the next meeting for public comment. It was very helpful. I mean that sincerely. This is a good process to go through.
Yes.
It's a good process for the public. And for many of the reasons that Mr. Chriscoe has alluded to, and I think I heard a message down in Virginia Beach as well, I would support not raising the personal property tax personally. That's where I am.
So we want to, for this exercise, remove the personal property tax. That's,
Is that good to everybody? Yep. Wonderful.
Ms. Kelly, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes, sir.
I know my mic's not on. Just for my old memory, and I know we're moving on, but just for me, and maybe somebody who might be out there, the max we can go on the meals tax is what, 6%?
Correct.
Okay.
So the personal property is what, 305 now? This is state 305, right?
310 currently.
310.
Correct.
Okay, so it's 310.
Hey, Mr. Chairman?
yes.
Tony, I think that's a state max. I don't think it's, I mean, it's the cap.
It's a county of Virginia max, because cities can go higher.
I know that.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you. I knew she said that, I just wanted to make sure that's what I heard.
Yeah, because some employer contracts is 7%.
Keep going.
Beat poll.
We haven't advertised.
We haven't advertised it,
Okay, true.
and we'd get about a quarter of a year in this fiscal year if we adjusted it for next March.
I think the thought was because that's not due till March. that
Correct, but
We were
I'm-
gonna wait.
right, but I'm saying whatever,
We get the full amount.
Yeah, you can full amount next
I guess we would get the full amount. Sorry, full amount in March, okay.
But you can't do anything with it.
Tonight, but we can do it between now and next March.
Yes, between now and next March. And our hope is, or my hope is, that if you tweak the BPOL tax rates, you can use that as perhaps additional funding to fund public works or something else.
Correct.
Other than this budget. That's my hope.
Correct, okay.
The 79,000 you have in there is just natural growth.
No, that was the request of the board at the last work session. I think we put in I took a note, it's a percentage, increased by 3%.
Oh. Yep. So we probably need to take that out for now then.
Was 3% growth?
No.
No, that was simply what we were looking at doing some of the changes with. It went back in.
I know, I put
Okay.
it back in because I didn't know if
yeah.
it was a consensus.
But I don't think it matters because we haven't advertised changing it, so I don't think there's anything we can do. Even though we discussed it, I think we have to,
You can include it.
not tonight.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I asked you a question about the possibility of tiering real estate taxes, and then I went back and reread the Constitution of Virginia, which proscribes a uniform real property tax and does not provide for any tiering of real property taxes, so I answered my own question.
So the last tax we haven't discussed is the real estate tax rate, which is currently being, is that 6 or 5.8? What's the difference between? 537 to 595.
So it's a 5.8 penny increase and at 59.5 pennies. And it's a 5.8 penny increase from the equalized rate.
So, is it the will of the board to leave that alone for now and then look at some of the other budget items before we come back to that?
That 0.5 balances the budget, right?
No.
No, I mean,
no.
no, so we're
529.
529 off, okay, right. Just want to make sure.
Wait a minute. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Because you took out the personal property tax and you took out the boat tax, so that's why it went down. Your revenue went down, so your.
Murray, I think you need to move it over some.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. That's what I was looking for.
So do y'all want to leave that for now and go down and look at some of the transfers out? Can we go further to the left? See what the... Too many miles on the road today. It took a second to capture that. Thank you, Mr. Wilmot. I needed that this evening.
So I don't think Mr. Chairman, I don't think you really can mess with social services. It's largely a state mandated budget and we just have to suck it up.
We're still waiting on that.
Yeah,
too,
but,
so.
I mean, I don't think that there's an item there to play with.
Do we remember the amount of money that the raises for the schools affects our budget?
I have the presentations here. If you bear with me for a moment, I'll see if they have the local impact.
And then I would need to know, I'll find ours. Where are you looking for that, Ms. Callaway?
I do not know what portion of this is local, but on the March 17th presentation, the 3% compensation increase was $1,648,994. And I missed what the second part of your question was, Mr. Chriscoe.
No, what were we proposing for the county's increase on our side?
The percentage increase is 2.8% for a COLA, and I can get you that figure in just a moment.
I have ours, Ms. Callaway, $685.91.
Plus you have the 1% step increase.
Yes, and so the 2.8% COLA is $680,591, and the now I don't have the step separate. To make the step 1% from 0.66%, it would be $38,181.
Chair,
Yes.
I think you've answered this before, and I know if I ask repetitive questions, you think I'm dense. I'm back on our capital improvements. I can see the capital improvements sort of picture in front of me. Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm back on the body tot project.
Okay.
Which my memory is it was about 4-point-some odd million.
8.1 in total.
And is that money available in a fund from the sales tax for the schools?
Yes, sir.
So it appears as an expense item. Where is the revenue to match it?
The revenue to match it would be in the, let me think about this. So, currently here in this, it's listed as bond financing.
That's why I didn't, I'm sorry, that's why I couldn't find it. I saw that and I thought, well, that's not really bond financing, it's school sales tax, right?
I like that $81 million.
Yeah, so do I. I was like, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
And
That cleans out a lot of issues right there.
forgive me, I am noticing there is, in this revisions, there's a little bit of a fix I need to be working on. So as I'll be working on that while it appears it's adding 2 columns together that I need to correct. So I'll work on that portion down here.
Improved and over, make it work.
Well, okay, now I'm back to the capital fund bond BPSA financing. Now in the working budget, you have a 0 number there. Go up.
Fix that now.
Okay.
So this, working budget is still this. Does not carry over.
I'm telling you, I was in Alfred today and I'm just awed. I can't keep up with it.
Okay, your capital budget is down again. Apologies.
All right.
Right. Yes.
Gee, we're at 6.5 million, okay.
Yes.
So for the Gloucester Point Beach Park renovations, is that something that we have to do because of a grant?
Well,
Or is that just something that we put on there?
it's in the budget, and we would have to fund our portion of the grant or refuse the grant once it were to come in.
What is our portion of that grant? Is it a 50-50, 80-20?
Yeah, it's
50-50.
50?
Yeah, I thought it was 50/50. But we haven't gotten that grant yet, correct? We do anticipate getting it?
It hasn't been awarded, has it?
We were shortlisted,
Yeah.
DCR, we're at.
Mr. Lewis?
Always. We were shortlisted. We submitted an application for a grant to DCR. After reviewing all the applications, they asked for us to provide additional information, which we've been working on over the last few months, including some of the more additional environmental regulations that we needed to do, as well as having someone develop a schematic plan so they could see and we could use. So we've done that. Resubmitted back to DCR, got a couple of things that we still need to get to them. And then they will submit to the National Park Service.
When do we expect to hear? You don't know, fine.
July, August, maybe. You know, the NPS has a couple of months they're gonna take, and like I said, I haven't even spent it yet, so.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
how long would we have to accept that? I mean, that's after, like Ms. Hanson said, after our budget, so I mean, we'd have to, is there a time period to accept that grant once it's issued?
Yeah, we have like 30 or 60 days to do it. I think my only concern, if I may, is, you know, we apply for a lot of grants through DCR, and if for some reason we're not going to move forward with that, I think the sooner we can let them know, the better off we'd be for future grants. So, and then the National Park Service, I'd like to stay on their good side.
How much is the grant for total? 8?
The grant total is $1.4 million. 1.429574.
So our side's 700, give or take.
Yes, it's a 50-50 grant. And again, this is for basically we're gonna demolish the restroom and the pavilion down there and combine them into one structure, elevate them to reduce flooding. So.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm in support of the grant. I'm not sure it needs to be in our budget. I mean, I'm verbally supporting the concept of the grant. I want you to know that, but if we get the grant, then we will have money in the budget. We don't have to make a separate appropriation. If we don't get the grant, we have $700,000 in our budget that could be reallocated. And we're not going to know about whether we get the grant or not until after the budget is prepared. When the board has gotten grants in the past out of cycle, I believe the board has done a separate appropriation if they wanted to accept the grant, if I remember watching the multiple videos that I've watched.
Correct. So, I guess, in my mind, I would like to see, what are we using of unassigned fund balance in? What is our use?
You mean where are we percentage-wise?
Well, I just want to see how much we are currently proposing to use. And that's the 2.8.
$2,857,958.
And if we use that, what does that leave the fund balance at, percentage-wise?
15.1% was the estimate.
So I think we need to look at, then, if we're going to look at expenditures, is we need to go back, because I don't remember, it's been long enough ago, what we're using that 2.857958 on.
I'll work on pulling that up. I have that for
No,
you.
I probably do too, but yes.
Mr. Chair, if you don't budget the $700,000 in anticipation of receiving the grant, then if you receive the grant and you want to go forward with the grant, then you'll have to spend $700,000 of unbudgeted money out of the general fund.
So that's
So
why I was.
my advice would be to budget it if you are of a mind to want to expend it, if you get the grant, so that you've budgeted it so it's there. If for some reason you don't get the grant, then yes, you have $700,000 of budgeted money that doesn't need to be spent in that regard. You always have a purpose for those funds.
Correct, but that's why I was wanting to look at what other projects we have using that unassigned fund balance to see, do we budget it out of unassigned fund balance, and if we don't use it, then it doesn't affect our end result.
Well, do you have?
Would you like me to list the projects that the unassigned fund balance is being used? Body tot, fire system replacement, $200,000. Virtual server, sorry.
I thought the body top fire replacement system got rolled into the body top project.
It does not qualify
It's
for
not
school
qualify?
sales tax
It
funding.
was the AC was rolled into it.
Okay.
Virtual server replacement for our information technology department of $150,000. County paving program, $205,000. School bus replacement, $1.238 million. Gloucester Point Beach bathroom pavilion project, $714,000. Election equipment, $240,000, and an inflation contingency of $109,921. I can pass this around, and I think, okay, we have, if you'd like, I can pull it up on the screen. I have this slide from the presentation. This one. I think. Look at that.
Should be 15.
Yes, ma'am.
The only, Mr. Callaway, the only difference is the 714, 787.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
While we're looking for that, if I'm not, and you can please correct me, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think the board's policy for fund balance is to maintain a fund balance between 14 and 16%. Am I correct? That's in my historical memory. So what's the difference if we go down to 14? How much more available is it? About 1.5?
I do not have that on hand. It should be about 1.4. However, the policy does state the 15% is the minimum to maintain liquidity for our cash flow.
That was the other reason I was looking at this, is because I would really love for us to be at 16% when we borrow money.
Yes.
That's why I was looking, at that number.
Ms. Callaway, the only difference is the 14 to 1.429.
And the 6.99 on body tot. So, yeah, this was on in the proposed budget.
So, have we used any money out of the FMRR budget line item
The
of the
fund balance.
1.5 FMRR fund balance in anything
There
as of
is,
yet?
there is,
I know there was one sheriff's vehicle that has been pulled out of that since it was presented, or might have been done at the same time.
I'm going to confirm, but I believe use of that FMRR fund balance is included in this budget. But let me confirm that. Well, no, there is no committed use.
I haven't heard of it.
Okay. Hold on. I believe it is in here. There is use of, and I believe that was part of the discussion, to utilize that fund balance to fully fund FMRR. So there's $750,000 in this budget to fund FMRR used out of that fund balance.
The 1.5.
Correct.
So then what are those projects that we're using that 750 for? Because we've got to figure out, I mean,
Is the proposal? Thank-
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
We can't manipulate this screen ourselves, and so I have to ask some questions that probably have already, that are on the document that I just can't see. Does this budget include the $1 million transfer from the fire department? Yes. Is it in here?
So what it includes is a net zero of the first interest payment. So it's a 700, I'll get into it if you'd like. It's a that should not, 717,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. Chris is right.
Yeah.
Stay where we,
Let's go back to that.
You want to go back to the other one?
stay there first.
Here.
So do we take anything off that list to save some money? So for example, I know there was a push for the county paving program, which I think was the park. Do we want to hold off on that for another year?
Well, what I can't see is, or what I'm struggling to remember is what is coming out of the FMRR budget that's not here, that's not PAYGO, that we're funding from that, because I don't remember what it was stated that we were paying for that, other than it was going to the FMRR budget.
I'm gonna pull the list up for you of FMRR projects. In the proposed budget presentation, it listed by department. So it was the groups of departments in that slide. So I'm gonna pull up the listing of projects for you.
Okay.
Well, see, that could be an FMRR, couldn't it?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before this slide disappears, Mr. Wilmot, question for you. Because I think that you were the one that gave the information on this. And just for my information, the body type fire system replacement did not qualify for these sales, school sales tax?
Ms. Callaway, is that what I said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then my reasoning must have been sound. The 1% schools sales tax, well, I have to, I only have her for 28 more days, right? So I gotta utilize her. It only qualifies if it's either new construction, and this is not, or major renovation. And now, major renovation is not defined in the Virginia Code, unfortunately. So one has to use what one thinks he has as common sense to measure that. Capital projects normally have to exceed $50,000 at a minimum, to qualify for capital expenditures, not major renovation. So one has to look at the scale of the project involved, and is it a major renovation? Is it like significant in the grand scheme of the whole facility? In my estimation, that did not qualify as a major renovation. And I don't want to be tested in that regard. I was tested once, and they were wrong and I was right. So I don't want to do that again. Well, I would win, but I don't want to win just at the expense of others.
Mr. Chair,
Sometimes it's fun. Dr. Leming.
but on the same topic as Supervisor Nicosia, is not a replacement of a fire system FMRR?
It could be. That's what I'm trying to get to with
I understand
what,
right.
what is there, what we're using it for. So that's what I was trying to figure.
I think because we were saying FMRR was under a certain amount, and the fire control, or whatever it was, is over the 50,000. So that's where the FMRR is coming from versus capital. What was this was funded, or potentially funded?
All of this is, because the proposed budget included all requests, not cuts, that all of these projects are included in this current budget.
So what's the total on this?
1,359,800. And so I can shift any other parts that you would like to see.
And so of that 1.36 million, we're using 750 out of the FMRR.
Correct.
And the rest of it is
Is operating funds.
just operating funds, okay. Can we see that list slowly?
Oh, sorry, I was starting at the top.
Okay. But I saw some yellow shaded on the side. What was that for?
This is a work paper, so I haven't had a lot of time sitting here to clean it up. You know, we discussed these historically in extreme detail, and so what we did when we started working on this initially, before we realized the board wanted all projects, all requests, we were going through trying to prioritize what is important, and I think I just saw one that was like, do not cut. So, because historically it's been a pot at $750,000 or less if it gets cut, and we work within what are the biggest priorities for each department, and sometimes between departments. So, if one department can hold off on something, that funding might get used for a priority somewhere else. And I'll zoom, I wanted it to be big enough, I don't know, do you want to see that side, or do you want me to zoom back in?
I just wondered what it was.
Yeah.
I walked the stairs.
I'd walk right up, walk down. The screws they put in are ridiculous. Just open the door. They didn't use the right screws. Oh, shoot.
Ms. Galloway? What percentage growth is the current proposed budget compared to last year's budget? Globally? Say that to me. Say that to me again.
I believe it's about 6%, but I didn't want to say that on mic until I knew. I can't remember. I'm looking for it, and I'll let you know.
Did I see this week the United States Postal Service announced an increase in the forever stamps of 5%? I did.
You'll have to verify that one, I'm sorry.
I can verify that.
Can you go down?
$7.3%.
Ms. Hanson?
That is not, I'm sorry, hold on. That's the difference between the revenues and expenses. Hold on.
Just want to get a clarification, because I thought in one previous meeting that funding from FMRR was not to exceed 50,000? Did I hear that
I
incorrectly?
didn't know we'd ever set a firm policy. We had had a
thought there
discussion,
was
but I don't think we set a policy.
Because the windows were put on another budget and said that it was too expensive for this, but then I see 60,000.
There was a historical decision made that FMRR would be arbitrarily numbers below 50,000. I understand that. We in this board had with Mrs. Steele a conversation, sort of a loose conversation that to my knowledge never had a conclusion. But the conversation was that 50,000 an arbitrary hard number, or could it be massaged somewhat? And the issue that came up, as I recall, was about the replacement of the windows in the administration building. And the number that comes to my memory is,
Yeah, it was 62, that's what I
well,
was
but if you
thinking.
broke it into, yeah. And the argument was because it had been deferred, and they wanted to do all four sides at one time, it was a huge number that no longer qualified for FMRR. That was the conversation. But there was a conversation about, without conclusion, as to what that number FMRR could or should be.
So there's,
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I think the FMRR, which is not a bad thing in the abstract, was Mr. Fedor's baby. And I think there was some logic to it, and that is capital expenditures are generally, like I indicated, were over $50,000. And that is also tied into your funds from the federal government under COVID, the CARES Act funds and the ARPA funds. So it's all logically related. But technically, a capital expenditure is a capital expenditure, whether it be $1 or $5 billion. And FMRR can be any amount of money. So I think it was an arbitrary figure that was chosen, but it's not one you're locked into.
I will, that is in the policy, the 50,000, it says generally, so it could be something we could update for the future.
okay, so there is something in writing.
Yes, ma'am. It's
We
a,
would have to amend that.
it says generally.
I believe it was an my memory from reviewing that data was that it was created as an administrative policy.
Correct.
I'm fascinated.
You want you to scroll down.
Oh, I wanted to confirm the difference between last year's, this year, current amended budget compared to the initial proposed is 7.6%.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
What is this minibus with wrapping? Does anybody know what that
And
is?
that's supposed to be replacing the bus that we,
Katie, you want to, or Regine,
the
you
bus that we
want to,
took
the best year,
Yeah.
the CIP tour
the
bus.
CIP tour bus.
So we're replacing the whole bus with wrapping or just wrapping on it?
The whole bus and wrapping.
New bus with a wrap.
That's like $100,000 for wrapping. It's a lot of wrapping. I'm like, okay.
Can we test out the ramps before we buy?
Well, is that what we're replacing it because the ramps don't work?
Dr. Leming?
It's not on this page, but on the capital projects that we funded, I'm going back to that page for a brief moment. Just in my brain, okay. The Gloucester Point Beach Park renovations are 1.429, and I think our share was 710 or something. Is that correct? I'm exploring a particular line of thought. Do you think that would be considered economic development?
That directed to me to
I'm just asking a general question of many people. I think that would probably, if you really enhanced that beach park and did what Brian described, I would think that would be a economic development opportunity for Gloucester Point, to me.
Mr. Chairman, I'm exactly with you, Joe, because I think there's a better ways we could fund this and do this something probably better than what's being proposed and piecemealing it at a later date. I think if we took it to economic development or we saw a different way to maneuver this, we would be able to do it better without
Ms.
and
Calloway,
with the money we're spending.
do you know roughly the amount of money the EDA has sitting in an account in the LGIP pool?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Dr.
I
Leming,
believe
do
it's
you know
close
that
to $1
number?
million.
Dr. Leming, do you know that number?
I do know that number. It's about $1,034,000. So when you read the EDA's spreadsheet, it's fascinating. What I used to concentrate on was their cash balance in their checking account. And then one day I turned to the income. If you flip the next page, typically, there's an income statement. And on that income statement is this line item called interest, which normally one would think from a checking account would be approximately zero. It was like $22,000. And I said, well, gosh, what could be generating $22,000 on this monthly report? And the answer is that they have an amount of money invested in, I think, the LGIP, am I correct? The local government investment pool, is that not a creature? I believe it is. And I actually asked the question about how much was there? And it's about $1,034,000, $1,003,000, I don't know the exact number, but it's in excess of $1 million. So if the Gloucester Point Beach renovations project is $710,000 of ours, why can't that be an EDA funded project? No, I'm not, please feel free. I'm meant for this to be a robust conversation.
So to be clear, the reason that we are approved for the grant. It's just a formality. We just have to finish the documents like Brian said. So we are pretty much approved for. We just have to do the paperwork. If we take this out of the CIP right now, it's basically saying that we're declining the grant.
Oh, I wasn't suggesting we take it out of the CIP at all.
Okay.
I was suggesting the revenue maybe not come from the general fund or the fund balance, that the EDA could pay for an economic development project at the point.
True. Yeah.
I'm
But I just wanted to answer that question, because I think earlier you were asking about taking it out and then adding an appropriation later.
I'm a little concerned about using the EDA's money without asking the EDA if that's what they want to use. I mean, we don't have to do it tonight, but I think that if we pull out, you said we've got $1 million, $1.3 million, we're pulling out half that money to use for the parks. They might have something other in mind that they're going to use that money for. So, but I mean, you can look at it, but I don't think it's the decision for tonight.
No, I don't think we were trying to make a decision tonight. I'm just,
I know
think we're
that,
trying to find a alternate revenue stream and protect our bottom line.
I was trying to protect the park project, which I think is great, by the way. I was trying to not raid the fund balance. I was trying to come up with a possible alternate funding source. And Mr. Wilmot loves to tell me that he would be glad to do something at the pleasure of the board when I ask him to do something. So it's not for me to go ask the EDA without the pleasure of the board.
I have not determined, if I may, Mr. Chair,
If
whether
it's
it's
even-
lawful for the EDA to utilize their funds. I haven't been asked, but I guess implicitly I have been asked. So why don't I look into whether it would be lawful to ask the EDA to fund that portion of the project?
The best part is we
Understanding that you couldn't force them to do that.
Correct.
Although you appoint their members, so in effect you could.
Correct. Yeah, no, I think that's a great question to find out the answer to.
But I just wanted to be clear before I sit down that we are approved for the grant. We will get the $715,000, $750, $750.
Right.
We will get it, but it's gonna be we're getting it in October. However, we have to keep it in our budget.
Yes,
Okay.
we weren't wanting to pull it out of the CIP.
Okay, perfect.
Just
Because I
trying to
know
figure
there's
out-
thought about taking it out and
Just trying to
putting it
figure
back
out
in.
where our
Yes.
$715,000
Yeah.
match is coming
Hey,
from.
Brian,
I thought
can
we're
you
told
come up
we
and
were
tell
not
us?
awarded the grant. So we're just told we were awarded the grant?
It's just a formality. We are approved. We are shortlisted. We have the grant. The only thing is, we have to do the documents, which we are doing, which Brian said, the NEPA and the rest of the items. We've already sent it to DCR already, and right now we're just waiting for approval, but by October, we should have the money.
Okay, so we are approved.
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
thank you for telling us something we did
Yes.
not know.
we pretty much, surely we have it. I've confirmed with
Yes.
Matt, we
She
have it.
trusts the federal government a lot more than I do.
Sure.
So having said that, the grant would be awarded in October
By October, yes.
of '26. And what is the time frame that those monies have to be expended? 3 years?
Yes.
Am I
By
correct?
3 years,
3
yes.
years. So, so if that,
Interrupt the rest of that, but I've talked to Sherry today, and they have another project that they have to do that may not be that expensive. That's why I brought Brian up. The BMP in the business park has been ignored for 30 years, and we're having to repair it. Can you give me an idea what that number might be, just a ballpark?
I haven't seen the final plans, but it could be several $100,000. I mean, it's basically, it's not a maintenance project at this point. It's a reconstruction of the BMP. Now, I don't know, again, it's been a little bit out of it, what decision they made, because they could have either stayed with the same standards or built it into today's standards, which help some of the future development, so.
You're right, but she and I are discussing that to go back to the EDA, whether we want to keep it the way it is, because that would be less expensive and supports what we already have in the business park.
Right.
Building for the future is because they changed the law this last year, that any new construction would have to build their own BMP.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I'm back to the 3-year concept now. So do we have to fully fund our match to the grant right away, or can it be done in 3 parts? So, I'm just exploring.
It would have to be,
We have to show that it's fully funded. You know, that's kind of the key here. As long as it stays in the CIP in 27.
right, so, all right, so I think then we're done. It's staying in the CIP. The only, right, we got to figure out the revenue for it, which, well, potentially. But, yeah, so, all right, we're good there.
Mr. Chair, I have a second thought to my question that I posed to Ms. Wilmot.
Hit your button.
Well, Dr. Leming, take us down the road, but I want to go back there for a second. Thank you for your explanation, although I want to ask you to think about something. How does life safety play into that? Because I understand where you're coming from as far as looking at big pictures and stuff, and just thinking outside the box, trying to. Would life safety play into being able to use sales tax to get that fire alarm system replacement? So that's
No. It has to be either new construction or major renovation, which has not been defined. So I measure major renovation by the scope of the existing facility, the scope of the alterations proposed to be constructed or added to facility. And if it's something minor like painting the shutters, then obviously you and I would agree that's not major renovation. If it's a $5 million HVAC project, then we've weighed on the side of, yes, that's a major renovation. So the gray area is something that falls in between. And what I always fall back, Mr. Nicosia, to is that you have this limited amount of funding that has been graciously given to you via the General Assembly and your electorate to utilize for the schools, for new construction and major renovation. And in my estimation, you've used those funds wisely, at least after the initial foray of problems. You'll always have those funds until they're gone. You will always need those funds until they're gone. You will spend those funds till they're gone. I think you don't need to press the envelope, meaning spend them on questionable expenditures. You'll always have the need for those funds. So if there's a doubt, I caution erring on the side of not spending the funds. So I look at the total expenditure, and in this regard, how much was it? 200,000. Yes, it qualifies as a capital expenditure, but that isn't the touchstone. That isn't the measuring stick. It has to be a major renovation. How much is the building worth? $15 million?
Yeah, I don't know. Off the top of my head. I mean, if it's talking an $8 million renovation, it's probably worth more than that.
That's not a major renovation in my mind. And unfortunately, I'm the only mind you have. I mean, yeah, no, well, you know what I mean. Answering the question. So no, I don't think it is.
Yep, please do.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Leming.
Mrs. Keller.
Yes, sir.
I'm scraping here.
That's okay. Scrape away.
I don't even like what I'm going to say.
Oh, no.
What's the residual fund balance from the schools? 349?
So the prior year, approximately something along those lines. I'll confirm that again for you because I can't remember off the top of my head.
We may want to be careful because they may be seeing additional expenses with gas and diesel fuel. So we have to be really careful. You know, that's something that we have to be careful.
Well, that residual fund balance is built into this budget already. Yes. So that remainder that was left over last year is in our unassigned fund balance.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, my memory on this list then is the body top fire system replacement is a life safety issue. And I agree with my colleague that on a priority list, that's an extremely high priority. I believe we've heard testimony from Ms. Callaway before in lieu of the new IT director who was not present at the time you made the comments, that virtual server replacement is absolutely mission critical. The body top wing renovation is off this list because we found a way to fund that. The county paving program was recommended that it be done piecemeal. I guess we could delay that. I mean, it's gravel now. The argument at the time was, how much money are we spending each year to re-gravel and regrade versus if we paved it, would we save money? That was the argument, but that was my memory of that. The school bus replacement cycle, I'm just running the list in my own brain, I'm personally loath to mess with because if you kick that can down the road, which localities do, then we're going to need to replace 10 buses at some point down the road. And I think the schools have done a study that says that they need to replace X buses a year. And if we would just do that on a perpetual basis until the school population substantially changed in decrease or increase, that ought to be a fairly stable number. The Gloucester Point beach renovations, I mean, I guess you could, if you couldn't find a funding source, we could shamefully nix it, but I think we anticipate getting the grant. The historic building preservation, that came from the tourism fund balance anyway, and the election equipment we were told was mission critical. I mean, I think that's a synopsis of the testimony that we received.
One correction, we're looking at the CIP, and I think the county paving program, that next year was for the courthouse parking lot. It wasn't for one of the parks.
That's the first project listed, Brian, so I'm looking at, I just wanted, because it's not, it would be resealing from what I understand. Although there were a couple of projects in 2027 requested, but you can see the 888 was dropped down to the 205, so that wouldn't be changed. My understanding is that would not be changing gravel to paving, that would be maintaining the, potentially the paving that's in there.
My mistake. I thought there was a discussion in the budget about paving the parking lot at Beaver Dam.
Yes, how much is that on the far side, Park Road?
It was pretty expensive. I don't know if the 205 was for the Beaver Dam, the north side.
I believe it, well, no, we're doing, hopefully there's gonna be enough money this year to do the Ferry's Mill side of Beaver Dam, unless the decision's made to do something else between here and now, but that's with the paving money. But yeah, we plan to do, I guess that's the north side this
We
year,
just call it
this
Ferry's Mill
current.
side. But what do you think the 205's for? I wasn't here when they.
Because we submitted like 800,000, so I'm not sure exactly what the 205
So
specific.
the 888, 195 in the request is 204, 285 for the O2 courthouse parking lot, and then 683, 910 for 4 Woodville parking lots.
So it sounds like it would have been the courthouse one.
So it could have been, or it could have perhaps been potentially turning gravel into pavement on a couple of the Woodville. I think we would reach for engineering on what's the priority there.
Right, yeah.
Don't know, right, it was on the CIP tour.
The courthouse parking lot? What
No.
did it-
Ferry's Mill was.
That is something that we were talking about residual from this
This year.
year. That
This
is
year.
not for next year.
Right.
That is something that right now, we are in the middle of, we are in the middle of paving the Whitcomb Lodge lot.
Correct.
And any residual from fiscal year 25, six, would be utilized
For the Ferry's Mill
for
lot.
Ferry's Mill if it was possible.
Correct.
So
If we have enough left over.
perhaps I stuck my foot in my mouth, but I'm reading off of the 27 CIP submission, what the 888-195.
Roughly, what would the Ferry's Mill parking lot cost?
A couple $100,000.
That's what I thought.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you based on the number, but what Ms. Callaway just said with the 204, that's 205. So maybe,
That's for next year.
that's next year. She's looking at the numbers.
Correct. That's for 27. So I guess going back to earlier what you were saying, if you decided to delay that, it would probably be the resealing and the recoating of the courthouse, the O2 courthouse parking lot, which is not in the worst shape, but it's starting to show its age.
Water is the enemy of the pavement.
Yes, it is.
Water rights, yes, sir. Here, Hutson. It's close. So in round one, Ms. Callaway, what's the real estate tax increase that would be necessary to negate, to bring us a balanced budget, just hypothetical?
Another 3/4%.
Tax is off the table in round one. Personal property tax is off the table in round one. We've talked about V-poll, but we really can't talk about V-poll because A, it wasn't advertised, and B, it would really make occurring. It's just off the table. So you've got 6,163,000. What would the number have to be to negate that?
That would be a
0.8
increase
cent.
of 6.6 pennies from the equalized rate for a rate of
0.08 more than what we started with.
60.3 pennies. So a decrease of 0.9 pennies from our current rate.
9 pennies?
Point, what,
No, it's not a 0.9 from our, it's our 0.9 from our current rate, but it's
not from the equalized rate, it's an increase from the equalized.
Correct.
Of
So,
6.6
yeah,
pennies.
it's an increase of 6 cents. 7 cents.
0.66, is that correct?
Correct,
The yellow
0.066,
one,
correct.
The top one's
Right.
zero
Is the-
point six zero three.
And the
No, that's
equalized
the-
rate is 0.537. So what's the difference?
The 6.066.
Oh, turn your microphone on, Joe.
No.
So a real estate rate would be .603, up from .537, correct?
Excuse me?
Our real estate rate, based on what we're talking about, would be .603,
Correct.
right? From .537, the
Correct.
equalized rate. Right.
That's what I was asking.
There you go.
Thank you, Bob.
You're very welcome,
You
sir.
knew where I was going.
I know, you're very welcome.
Page 19 is CIP after this.
So you see the new rate is the one at the top that says it's basically 60.
.06, thank you. I do now. After I told you where to look.
Maria, can you pull up page 19 of the CIP?
There you go.
Mine's not, oh, there it is.
205, so it is the gravel lot.
Yes. Because that's what she talked about on the.
That's what we toured.
Yeah, we went to this gravel.
Because,
I thought it was.
because the, yeah.
I think that was when we didn't think we were gonna use all the money this year. I'm getting here. I'm loud. I don't want to be on TV. So I think, like I said, if everything goes the way we hope, we should have the $205,000 this year to finish, to go ahead and move that project along.
Recently, we received those, we really are finalizing those quotes on
Right.
Whitcomb, which would perhaps leave this amount of funding in the 2026 budget.
Correct. I know. Well, this was done how many months ago? March? January, oh, see, in January, yeah, we definitely we have a different mindset now.
I understand, but what's I'll drop it. Right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan, what is not the equalized rate, what is our current tax rate right now?
61.4?
0.614.
Let me
Is that correct?
Pretty sure that's correct. Got a lot of numbers in my brain right now.
It's all right.
I don't know.
So,
Start throwing out random numbers.
so, I think that's right, by the way.
I'm pretty sure it's right.
I'm pretty sure you're correct as well.
Thank you.
And the number on this round to negate, to get a balanced budget, if you lean solely on the real estate tax, is 0.603.
No.
It's not solely on it, we did increase the meals tax.
Okay. But on where we are, in order to get a balanced budget, and the only residual change we made was on real property taxes, the number would be 0.603.
Correct. Yes, sir.
0.614. So the rate would decrease slightly.
No.
No, it's increase.
The equalizer.
Equalize.
No, I didn't. The rate would decrease slightly from 0.614 to 0.603. The effect would be to increase the taxes because of the reassessment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm with you. And we advertised a maximum of 0.63 something, I think. I'm pretty sure we did.
Because we have to advertise before the public hearing on the
Right.
equalized rate.
And we put some number out there that was pretty big.
Yeah.
And not that we were gonna go there, but we gave us space to have conversations. Is that right? Was
It was 10, it was a 10 cent
It was a 10
increase over the equalized rate.
Yes.
Right.
637.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trudy.
So the max advertised was 0.637. The equalized is 0.537. And if you solely, believe this or not, we're not far in between the middle is where I was maybe going, but anyway, okay.
So that rate at present would be basically 0.603 times one per $100 of assessed value. So people's assessment, if it went up 16%, is now an additional X number of dollars on each of the homeowners if it went up 16%.
Yes.
Somewhat more, somewhat less. So, yeah. That's if we stick with this rate, which we don't, we're.
Mr. Chairman. Ms. Callaway? I'm asking a lot of you tonight, and well.
Go for it.
What could the worst thing happen? Forgive me, that was uncalled for.
Thank you.
It's too late to ask that question.
Percentage-wise, if you can, what would the percentage be if the hypothetical of 0.603 occurred compared to the equalized rate? I bet that's the number.
12.3%.
How much?
60.3 from 53.7. Did I do that right?
So the whole budget goes up 7.6%.
And you're comparing a rate, so that's going to be a little different.
Okay.
It's only you're only looking at one source of funding versus the entire sources of funding, so you're, yeah.
So.
Unless I'm getting dense.
Actually, I'm going where I wanted to go, which is we're leaning hard on the real property tax. That's where I was. That's what that proposal does, is it leans hard into the real property tax on homeowners.
Man, you're bright.
I'm not bright, I'm just. Joking. That's okay. I just wanted to hear the number. I bet the 12% number is probably right.
So our goal now, so the next step is to
Well,
figure out how to drop that rate.
Right.
So
Well, to your point, that's 12.5% on top of the 16.5. That, to your point.
You know, it would be interesting, although I'm sure we don't want to do that tonight. It might be good to look at what would happen to an individual homeowner that a certain assessed value today, what they would be paying if we went with that rate. It'd be just curious to look at that, because I know in the past we've seen that happen with proposed changes, and we would say, okay, it would be like $10 an extra a month or whatever. It might be worthwhile to just look at hypotheticals of certain housing values that had gone from whatever to a new assessed value, you know, because that rate would have to be essentially the same.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think that's exactly what we do in utilities.
Yes, we do.
I mean, literally, that's exactly what we do. Ms. Legg has shown us the ratepayer of 0 to 5,000 gallons per month will have this much increase in dollars and cents, and then it's tiered. And she's shown us those numbers in those tiers as we've made decisions. And I would concur that it would be of interest to get either the median or the average, or
just, you know,
couple different numbers and see what they look like.
Takes high and low, you know, or.
And in fact, to be honest with you, that, although obviously my conversation with the chairman is unconstitutional apparently, but that's where I was trying to go with tiering of real property taxes was, you know, below a level of maybe 500,000, you have a lower rate, and from 500 to 1 million, you have another incremental rate, and then above 1 million, you have another rate. But my conversation was a concept of a progressive tax structure, and the uniform rate is a regressive tax structure, and because the uniform rate is in the Constitution of Virginia, it's just irrelevant.
Yeah, maybe for phase 2, because I think the numbers are starting to swirl in my head, is that maybe for our next budget session, we look at what effect this rate would have on individual homeowners if the house value was a certain rate.
We can probably pull that up fairly quickly.
All right, I do have information from Mr. Thomas Leming that he provided me after the reassessment. If you give me just a moment, I'm certain I can find that.
And although I'm not a political person, it seems to me that if your current rate is .614 and your rate that you enact is .603, in my mind, that's a reduction. Okay, I understand that. I understand it's an increase over the equalized rate. I know that, and that's part of the public hearing, but it's a reduction in your rate. You have an assessment every 3 years. Some jurisdictions have every year, and they can go 1, 2, 3, up to 6 years. By law, they have to have a reassessment every 6 years at the outset. So, you know, this is your opportunity in my mind, and I know I'm out of school, I'm sorry, but then that never stopped me before. You have a tax rate reduction, as Dr. Leming indicated, proposed. It's a reduction. And if you're ever going to take an opportunity to do that, it would be now, because this is your reassessment year, right? So I don't have any problem with the optics. Some will, but I don't, with a 614 to 603 decrease in your tax rate.
Okay, here's a person.
Just quick numbers, and again, I'm gonna do like you, just quick numbers. I took two home values, 450,000 and 350,000. The difference of .066. And for a $450,000 home, that's $297 a year, or $24 a month. For the 350, it's $231 a year, or $19 a month. So that's what the increase would be for a $300,000 and a $450,000 home on their taxes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Do I remember, Mr. Bonniville, that the median price of a home in Gloucester County is $447? Am I correct?
I think it's around 350.
So my memory is wrong.
It's 358 and some odd $1,000.
The 327 was under the previous assessed value, and I think it's around 350 now. I just found the previous average was 327 in 2025.
I misspoke.
Well, you know, we have 7 people here. Each of us can go home, look at our assessed value, and take a look. And yep, we have a little homework. You know, we can see exactly for 7 of us what each of us would be paying, because we all have houses that are different value. Just out of curiosity, I mean.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, so remember, I only ever got in. You know, we advertised a maximum rate of .637. The current rate is .614. So hypothetically, if that number were to come a reality, we've dropped it significantly from the highest potential advertised rate, and we've dropped it from the current rate. So the optics, and I understand it can be spun both ways, but that's not a terrible optic. Additionally, this would fully fund the schools and buy the right number of buses. Actually, I think it's 1 less, by the way. I think it's not 6 buses. I think it's 5 buses.
So when you're, no, I have one question for you while you're, have you ever sent in more than what your tax bill was?
Actually, it's a really interesting question, and council can correct me, but did you know that if you underpay your B-poll taxes, the penalty is 10%? And if you overpay your B-poll taxes deliberately, you get 10%. So there are businesses who deliberately overfund their B-poll taxes. They're typically law firms, by the way. And they're doing so because on the difference between what they owe and what they fund, they're getting 10% return on that investment. So there are people who do overpay their taxes.
But the question was, you. He's not a lawyer. He only got into law school. He didn't attend.
Okay,
Yeah,
so wait a minute. So the thing is, we still haven't looked line by line of things that we think could be saved. I think that's, we've got, that to me is the thing that we really have to work on, to drop that .603 down a bit. I'm sorry, a bunch.
Something. Freudian slip there, Doctor? So, all right, hold on a second. Let me get you a lollipop for next week. Here's looking at you, kid.
If you would like, I do have, Mr. Thomas actually did send me a wonderful summary at the various penny levels, and he gave me four different average assessments and what they shifted. So I can pull that up for you if you'd like to see that.
Well, Mr. Chriscoe and I just did a very unscientific, he gave me 2 letters. I picked a street out. I picked one of them in the middle of the street. 25, the assessment was $316,900. And then this year's assessment is $368,660. At the different rates, they paid $1,945.77 or $162 a month. This year, with the rates that we have right here, it would be $2,223.02 or $185 and, can't read my writing, $25 or $75 a month.
$24 more a month?
Yeah. So, and that's just a house that's in the less than the average. But because of the increase it faced and these numbers, it's more than a 16% increase, but still that house's numbers, that's what it would have increased. And that's a lower end house than.
But again, let's not forget that everything else is going up, and we do have a lot of people that struggle month by month. So I think our next big test is to see how we could drop that .603 on real estate. That's the part that we really need to dig into, guys.
Has the board been provided with the proposed and current real estate tax rates of similar and adjoining jurisdictions?
I asked for that.
And so they'll know, not that I ever care what anyone else does, because I don't, but they might. So it'd be nice to know that we are more reasonably taxed than other jurisdictions.
Well, you know, the tough part is every one of these jurisdictions, their income, their revenue comes from so many different sources. So I've been arguing with my son-in-law who lives in York County, and their revenue sources are so different because they have industry, they've got the federal government, they've got a lot of other businesses. So, yeah, we want to be careful.
They have more hotels than Williamsburg.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have a higher tax rate.
I know.
Yeah.
But they have more services.
They have paid
Right.
fire.
Fire.
They have trash pickup.
Are we,
They have water and sewer, or more locations. Well, I'm not doubting that. We used to charge you to come here.
Mr. Chairman, somebody actually suggested keeping the toll in and taking the revenue from that. And I was like, I don't think that's legal.
Yeah, yeah.
actually, it was.
Sound like a good idea.
Actually, it was presented at HRTPO, and who's the guy, the big guy, shoot, can't think of his name, Carpenter, who was the chair, transportation board? Lives up in Middlesex or Gloucester.
Oh, Shep.
Shep Miller. He was the one that says, it's not gonna happen. There's no way we're gonna let you do it. But we did come to him and ask if there was any way to do that. Are we having, real quick, are we gonna have any director heads come in and talk about their budgets? Because I know that's been asked, and I haven't seen the schedule.
Right, that's if, we've asked, but no one has provided me with anybody that they want to have here.
I thought somebody had said they were gonna ask, are all of them to come?
We can ask all of them to come, because my, right,
I suggested it because of the new people who are here that haven't heard from these people. So it was more from an educational point of view of what the heck goes on in each department.
Unless you have any specific questions or concerns.
or asking for a reduction and
Yeah,
getting them to,
I understand there's newbies and there's interest in new knowledge but I would urge you not to have all the department heads and constitutionals come here unless you really had some specific questions. And there's no reason you couldn't ask those questions ahead of time.
correct. Yes,
Is it possible maybe to do like the most top-heavy departments? Maybe the top
we-
3, top 4?
then who do you want? Because here's, I mean, we have still not looked at cutting anything from what's been presented. And until we're going to go down the avenue of, all right, let's just, because it's the biggest ask, the schools. Are we gonna fully fund the schools? So if we're not gonna fully fund the schools, we probably need to have someone from the schools here to defend their stance of why they want the 10% increase over last year's budget.
I think that's the first start.
Or do we look at, because we can't really do it, but if we were to say, social services, you've got an increase in there, we're not gonna fund it, then we want Ms. Kersey in here to explain to us why we have to fund it. And I'm just saying that because that's the two that, or the sheriff's office, which I don't think there's a whole lot.
I think, you know, the big numbers are, what we're talking about is, I mean, you know, fire and safety is 22 million. If you look at general administration, it's 9. I mean, look at the big revenue picture that we've been presented, and those are the numbers.
So what about like the departments that are asking for the most increases? Do that. And make them justify the increases they're asking.
Well, we can probably have them do that without coming to a meeting and slowing us down. We can probably get them to send that, to me, that's an email. I don't think we actually have to have them here, because we have potentially next Thursday night, potentially next Tuesday, if we get through things. I think we've added potential budget discussion for next Tuesday because the agenda was of a mindset that we could maybe squeeze some more discussion in. Mr. Hutson. Dr.
Ms. Callaway?
This isn't Family Feud, man.
Can you show me what the amount of money is currently budgeted for health insurance in the county side?
Absolutely, and I have reduced that amount. So that's gonna be here in the, compensation line, so I have reduced it $895,000. So let me pull up for you exactly what of that is health insurance, because this also includes the COLA. Oh, I can tell you, it's $405,000 is what we have for health insurance increase currently. That is an estimated.
It was originally 1.3, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah,
Yes.
1.3, and then we dropped it after we got the new numbers.
And we don't have the number for the schools?
I do not, and that RFP is due back at the end of this month, I believe.
Well, that's really helpful.
I know. Their plan year starts in October, I believe, so it's a whole different cycle, and that has impacted the budgets after the fact in the past.
Almost every year.
Yes.
question was just asked. Which department has asked for the largest increases?
I believe it's IT, but hold on, I think I just locked it up.
Yeah, we had it already highlighted.
I only had anything over 100,000.
Yeah, that was a little, but that one was the biggest.
Yeah, I think it was. And I'm frozen, I believe. Ah, there we go. No, it did come up.
Better spend that 150,000 on the server for getting locked up.
Oh my gosh. Eek. Okay, here we go. Let's go down. I believe it's information technology has the biggest increase. Although I'm not looking at the tiers here. Let me just double check that. And that's compensation, FMRR. So I highlighted all in red everything that was an increase of more than $100,000. The largest is information technology, which is nearly solely due to Tyler Munis SAS fees. If you'd like, do you want me to keep going to the next largest?
Yeah.
Let's see, 581. Yeah, I think the 276 is the next. 290, building inspections of 290. That is mostly salaries. We added a new inspector, and yes, and so a lot of that is salaries. There's also some training in there. Oh, I'm sorry, and you know what? That increase is not the same. I did find there was a duplicative position, so we fixed that, which is that 89,000 that's pulled out here, and adjusted the way that we're advertising some of, or that we're budgeting for vacant positions, because there are vacant positions, and we're now advertising at the midpoint. So that increase is not 290 anymore. It's, what is that, about 200,000. The next largest would be Commonwealth Attorney's Office, which we just discussed is largely due to salaries again. And then after that would be the Sheriff's Office. And Fire and Rescue.
The one person in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office for the body cams? Because under state law, localities are required to fund.
Yes.
If it's high, go ahead.
We made that change, we made that adjustment. Yeah.
Because
Three-ish
it's
years
one
ago.
per 1 to 75 body cams. Do you know how many body cams they use?
The Sheriff's Office,
Yeah.
they're
We're probably
really close. I
to
thought they had
75.
77.
I bet it's close.
Or,
Because
yeah,
if they
that's
go
real
over
close.
75, we got to fund another one.
Perhaps that is where Mr. Dusowitz believed that we were going to be having another attorney added for state compensation
We
board
should be
funding.
careful. If we don't want to fund another one, we should limit his usage to 75.
I'll let him know.
Okay.
Good point.
So the next two would be Sheriff and Fire and Rescue.
And Dr. Leming, to answer your question, Ms. Callaway had the sheet here. We're still number 2 on the list, with only New Kent behind us being less.
So, is that all, Ms. Callaway?
I'm sorry, can you remind me about
I did.
John? Okay. Okay, engineering, and that is a new position.
You should anticipate Mr. Cole's retirement, not tomorrow, hopefully, and Mr. Ritter, both of whom are in the building code department, and they're, like me, not a spring chicken, but they're perfectly competent. But they won't be staying long, and you will have to hire a new building code official, and you will have to overpay that person. So I hope you anticipate doing that, because you're going to have to, in my opinion.
So is that the extent, is there anybody else there's no one else that's asking for more than?
Mr. Chair, there are No, the next would be civic contributions, which have also not been discussed. There's an increase requested of $115,000 in civic contributions.
Well, to me, that's an easy one. I think we level fund what we've been doing. I don't think we take any money back, but I don't see, I know everybody's costs are going up, but at the same time, I mean, for me right now, I'm looking at, the schools have asked us to cover the $680,000 deficit from the state. I can't in good conscience do that, because I can pull the file up that I've had, I think 3 or 4 finance directors make for me, and we can see, and you've already sent it to us, and, there's a big problem with the funding and the not attendance, the ADM, that's causing, me, we level funded the schools last year. I don't want to level fund, I don't necessarily want to level fund them again, but if you do level fund them with the number that you would look at as per pupil, it's basically an increase. And they would fight me on that, but because I know you can't take out 100 kids and take out, exactly the number of classes you would need to, but the state pulled money back, becomes an unfunded mandate for us. They're gonna give them less money now, we gotta come up with $700,000.
It is absolutely an unfunded mandate. There's absolutely no question about that. The problem is that there are children, and we have to educate the children. And unfortunately, whether I like this comment or not, the children, and you're there, you can correct me, and I'm perfectly able of being corrected. Today's mix or portfolio of children are much more expensive to educate than the same group 10 years ago. I mean, that's just a reality. There are more IEPs and more 401, whatever they are, and more special needs children, and more kids who now qualify under autism spectrums that we, under law, have to offer to educate. And that's just a reality. And so if we base our, and I'm not defending the schools at the moment, I'm really mad at the state, but the reality is that the school system is costing more to operate despite a reduction in the number of average daily pupils, ADPs, or ADMs, I think they call it, or something like that. And if you look at based on the ADM average number, you're correct. The cost per ADM is going up. And that cost is, if I'm not trying to defend the schools, but I don't think that's the school's fault. And in fact, what we don't want to have happen is we don't want our school systems salaries to fall and have those career educators sucked out of our system by surrounding localities. And that, now that we don't have a toll on the bridge, we can't even tell them how much they save by staying here and not crossing the toll twice a day. But and we shorted them a school bus.
But we bought them 16 school buses 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And I understand there's an issue, but I asked the school board when we met with them for information on the age of their buses and mileage and everything else, and I've never seen it.
Okay, I'll make sure you get it.
Okay. And it could have been attached to something else that I was more interested in the other item, but I'm not saying I want to level fund the schools, but I don't know if a $3 million ask, because that's outside of the school buses.
I know.
Is where we have to be either. That's why I was asking what the raises, the amount for the raises were, because to me, I want to continue doing what we're doing, and I want to try to make sure everyone receives their raise, and they're going to get a bonus, and they're potentially getting a raise. That's more than I'm going to get this year.
They're also cutting They're also cutting staff, and they've got other expenses that are there. I mean, we need to get, when, they're coming the 21st. So when they come the 21st, these are questions, hopefully they're watching tonight and they can answer.
My memory, Mr. Chairman, is they had an anticipated reduction in force of 11 positions.
So, with that, I'm going to assume that we want to meet again next Thursday, the 23rd.
Round 2.
We've made some headway. We've been doing this for 2 hours and 45 minutes tonight. So Ms. Cronin will send out the agenda for the 23rd, which would be very similar to the agenda for tonight.
I think we'd accomplished a lot tonight.
Yes.
More than usual.
Ms. Hanson.
And Mr. Hudson's shaking his head.
Question, is it possible in between now and then, if any of us have any epiphanies and want to have, you know, one of the directors or someone come in that we think we really want to ask the questions of, can we contact you and just say, hey, do you mind having
Well,
so-and-so come in?
If there's anybody that you all want to see, just send an email to the board, copy Mr. Baines and Ms. Calloway and Ms. Cronin, and either at that budget work session or the other one that is currently scheduled, working with their schedules, we will make them available.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ms. Calloway, I do recall a bus study, but I'm not sure I could put my hand on it again. If you could, between now and the next meeting,
Yes, sir.
recirculate that,
I absolutely
I
will.
would very much appreciate that. Because I think it really was, what's it called, a fleet management study is my recollection, and it talked about what their policy was, which was a certain number of years and/or a certain number of hours and/or incurable obsolescence. I think that's a.
I like that term.
It is a defined term, by the way. In the accounting world, incurable obsolescence is a defined term. And I think that they came up with a recommended number of buses per year in that fleet management discussion. They may have had a consultant do it, I can't remember, but if you could share that with us.
Yes, sir, I will circulate that, and I will also mention to the board that we did ask for the schools to research the potential of leasing school buses, and we do have an annual estimated amount on that. The problem is that builds every year. So once you start financing your buses over several years, pretty soon you're back in the same bus. So, and it's a big one.
And Ms. Calloway, did you say that the upcoming budget uses all of their fund balance, their unspent fund balance?
The unspent fund balance that the schools returned last year went into our unassigned, and it is incorporated into the unassigned fund balance calculations I've provided, in which the 2.8 million is being used, bringing the fund balance down to 15.1% of our policy.
Okay. So a moment ago, I thought you said the school's unused fund balance was going to help fund next year's school budget.
It goes back into unassigned fund balance. It is funding the CIP PAYGO.
It is in our budget. It's our budget.
Okay.
But if you want, we can take theirs and put it towards the buses, and then it's a wash.
Buses, yeah.
Because we got $1.1 million in buses. Because when I first got on this board, $330,000 bought us a bus. No, I take that back. $330,000 bought us 3 buses.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
$110,000 a bus 15 years ago.
Structurally, I don't think that daggone school buses ought to be in our budget anyway, but that's just my own opinion.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion if it's appropriate.
Make sure I've completed all the housekeeping. I don't want to make Ms. Cronin upset with me for forgetting something. Have I got everything that okay. I had something, but I forgot what it was, so it's not that important. So, Dr. Leming, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.